We're back with Reverend C.L. Bryant. You saw part of his film just a minute ago. I watched it on Friday. It's really fantastic. It's called Runaway Slave. And Deneen Borelli, who is a good friend of mine in the programs, she's the author of this book that I highly recommend that you read. It's called Blacklash, how Obama and the left are driving Americans to the government plantation. This really hacks them off, that you would even say that there's such a thing as a government plantation. What do you mean by it?
Well, it's true. When you look at the fact that the liberal left does not like people to be individuals, they prefer collectivism. If you have independent thought, you are made an example of, you are targeted, you are criticized. And CL and I, we experience this all the time just because of our views of limited government, personal responsibility. And when you think about it, when the Tea Party came on the scene, the Tea Party is going against the liberal establishment. And what CL and I are doing is going up against the black establishment. When you look at Jesse Jackson, you look at Al Sharpton playing the race card and their message of victimization, the NAACP, who does not come to our defense, black conservatives.
Never. You've asked them, right?
I've asked them on television. I've sent them a letter, no response. And then also when you look at the President of the United States, who got in the White House because America is an exceptional place, we don't hear any comments from him in terms of being individuals or that America is an exceptional place. We hear him apologizing. We see him bowing, apologizing for America and America's greatness. But we are on the scene with this movie and my book to communicate the message of liberty, personal responsibility, and to educate people and to inform people, but also to inspire people for them not to be afraid to be criticized or targeted. We're called names all the time. I've been called all kinds of names, and you know what? That just emboldened me to write that book, and I'm proud of that book, and I do believe our message will get through, because we need a surge in the black community with our message.
Who's reading this? Are African Americans reading this or whites reading this?
I have gotten responses from all people of all backgrounds, positive responses overall.
Same question to you. Who's watching Runaway Slave?
We are offering it, of course, to everyone. But unfortunately, Glenn, Runaway Slave is being sung to the choir. The provocation of it, though, we hope will give credence and courage to those who are in the closet, so to speak, to come out and see what is being said here.
I have to tell you, both of you guys are so incredibly brave. I know you've lost your job. It shows it in the movie. You lost your job as a preacher because they didn't want a preacher that was saying, I stand with the Tea Party, small government.
Didn't want that at all.
Right.
And they certainly didn't like the idea of Runaway Slave movie. They failed to see the idea behind it. I was pastoring a congregation that was mostly the sons and daughters of slaves 150 years ago. And I am the great-grandson of former slaves. Now, they were trapped in a system. Many of them had the courage to run away from that and gain freedom. They would come back to the plantation and tell those who were still enslaved, you can be free. But what would happen then is the same thing that's happening now with Al Sharpton, as Deneen mentioned, and Jesse Jackson. Once they realize that you're there telling them something different than what the system is dictating, then they have to make a public example of you. And that's what they try to do with Deneen and I by publicly calling us out and calling us names, demeaning us, so that no one else in that system will have the courage to say anything.
How do you get people who, I mean, Booker T. Washington, Frederick Douglass, who we talked about last week, are remarkable people. And Booker T. Washington, I mean, there's a reason that man's being erased from history, because he said, stop living in the past. Right. How do you get the slave to defend slavery? I mean, that's really what's happening here. People are, well, maybe not, you know, Al Sharpton's a free man. He's not a slave. He's a free man. Oh. He's just enslaving others to poverty.
He's a slave in his mind.
Right.
And his message is being communicated, especially to the black. Listen, anytime Al Sharpton is on television, in print, his message is not a message of a positive light. It's always someone else's fault. It's always something that's being done to keep the black man down. I mean, look at the voter ID issue that is going on right now. He was protesting last week saying that this is disenfranchising minorities.
But I don't think Al Sharpton actually believes that. I've spent time with Al Sharpton, and he's a perfectly nice guy. He's a performer, and he's a businessman.
Definitely a businessman.
He's a businessman.
And the thing with Al is, the thing with Reverend Sharpton is this. As long as you can keep someone angry, bitter, and resentful about Kunta Kinte's foot being chopped off, then you have leverage over their emotions. This president came into office on a wave of emotion. And they were happy that finally we may have some vindication now over Kunta Kinte's foot. But there's nothing that you can do about his foot being chopped off. We live in the year 2012. You've said it many times. Slavery was a horrible thing. Of course it was. But we have gotten past that. My ancestors did not go through the struggle that they went through so I could be black in this country. They went through the struggles so that I could be free. And that's what this show and my presence here today, along with you and Deneen, is proof of it, that I'm a free man.
Let me take you both back to where you've come from, because the premise is you can't make it. You can't make it on your own. CL, why do people call you CL?
My grandparents, great-grandparents were illiterate. And all the boy children, since they couldn't spell their names, they gave them initials. I get almost emotional when I think about my grandfather. If you wrote his name on the back of this wall behind me, he would not be able to read it. But he didn't ask anybody for anything. After slavery, he told us about how great-granddad bought the property, and they all worked it, and they sweated their brow and so forth. My father had only a third-grade education, taught himself to read. His name was L.C. And Lewis Carroll wrote the book Alice in Wonderland. My dad taught himself to read from that book. And right before he went into World War II, he decided to change those initials L.C. to Lewis Carroll. And so I carry on the tradition today, even though my name is Cleon Lewis, of calling myself CL. My son is LC. I call him that, and he owes me a CL.
Where did you come from?
I grew up in New Jersey, so we have totally different backgrounds. You coming from the South, I'm from the North.
We have the video that we just watched. People were asked, is there anything that you have ever tried to do in America that you cannot do? There
is a wealth of opportunity in our country. And if it doesn't happen today, it can happen for you tomorrow. And I knew I had opportunities available for me in this world. I just had to go out and seek them. Nothing was handed to me.
Right.
I'm the oldest of 3 girls. I grew up in New Jersey, working class family. Left home in my early 20s. Couldn't wait to leave home because I was excited about being on my own and exploring the world and trying to, make myself a better person. I could have been a track star in high school, could have had a scholarship, go to college, but I didn't do that. I always worked. I've been working since I was 14. And each job I took, it wasn't something I was always crazy about, but I did the best that I could and I applied myself. And that is something that I talk about in my book because anyone can do anything they want. You have to work hard, apply yourself, and just because someone tells you no, it doesn't mean that person is racist or they hate you or whatever. You just have to find another way to make it happen.
Well, I think that's what we're doing here is there is a second-class citizen in America, I'm convinced. It's a conservative. It's somebody who believes in small government. That is a second-class citizen, the one that I experience, my second-class citizenhood. There are things that I'm not getting a show on HBO. Not going to happen. I'm not going to get a movie produced by Paramount Pictures. Why? Because of what I believe. There are things that I can't do. Well, that's okay. fine. I think it makes me stronger. Pisses me off, but I think it makes me stronger. The key is to not let it turn into anger.
Right.
And that's what you saw in your film, was real anger.
Right, and we also see it the way, speaking of second-class citizens, conservative women, black and white, are definitely second class.
I think conservative, then second class. Another second-class citizen is conservative women, which is worse than just being a conservative. Yeah. And second-class African American has got to be the worst, because you're isolated from. Are you looking for a job as a pastor?
Well, one nation back to God, as the Lord has blessed me to have this particular pulpit. What he did, he was close a door and he opened one that gives me a pulpit that's almost worldwide now. And it's amazing how that happened. 9 years, we built a brand new church and all of that. 9 years, I married my young people off, baptized my babies, and buried my dead, loved them. But here along comes an election that has a black president, and their pastor is simply trying to say to them, look at what he's saying and look at what we believe. Look at what he stands for and look at what we believe. But unfortunately, as is the case many times, the color of our skin dictates how we will vote. Not necessarily how we will behave, but how we will look at America.
So, Deneen, how do we break that? How do we break that? How do we talk to each other? Because I have to tell you, white people are uncomfortable at times of sitting with black people and having a conversation because you're thinking, I don't want to say anything wrong, I don't want to offend, and I don't want to be called any names, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know if it's the same for African Americans with white people, but we've got to find a way to where in casual settings we're all comfortable with each other. And I'm not saying that that's universal in nature. I'm saying when you're just sitting down with a group of people that you don't know, we dance around each other, we are cautious with each other. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but here's the thing. I mean, people should be able to say anything they want. And another thing you got to keep in mind is there will be a group of individuals you will just not be able to reach, no matter what you say.
Oh, yeah. But Al Gore. I'm never going to reach Al Gore.
But you know, with the black community, I mean, this is why CL and I, we're doing what we're doing, because we really believe we can reach these individuals. I get notes from people on a regular basis who are closet conservatives. I believe in what you say. I applaud you for your effort. Thank you so much for what you do. But I could never do that because I would be criticized and targeted by my family, my friends, my relatives. And yes, if you are a white individual, unfortunately, your message may not be well received. But on the flip side, we have to make that effort. I don't care what color you are. The message is liberty and personal responsibility. And then look at how that would apply to your life. It's not big government. That's not the answer. It's you, the individual.
How come, I mean, because you talk about this in your book, you know, you talk about even just gas prices. Yeah. This is crippling the poor in our country. It is the things that this administration is doing is not good for the poor in the country, not good for the African American if they're poor in this country. How do people not see it? How do people in the situation where they're really getting the shaft,
right? How
do they not see it?
Well, what we're witnessing under this current administration, I really believe Obama is looking to lower our standard of living. We have a wealth redistribution that's going from our country to other countries. Look at him on his energy policy. Now, energy affects everyone, and that is something I talk to people about on a regular basis. It's okay for China to maybe get the Keystone Pipeline oil. He didn't want that to go through. It's okay for America to be Brazil's best customer. We have a wealth of natural resources right here in our country. But when you think about it, Obama said before he was president, he wanted energy costs to necessarily skyrocket. Now, that should have been bells and whistles for everyone, but it wasn't. And anyone complaining about higher energy prices, well, he said that's what he wanted. So watch what he says, watch what he does.
Right.
But this is what we have to communicate to people.
I mean, you've got you know, a good 40–50% of the white community that doesn't see it either. I mean, they're just like, they refuse to see it.
Here's this president who had a golden opportunity, a biracial president, to actually build a bridge to heal our nation.
He could have been Nelson Mandela.
He could have been America's Nelson Mandela. But he squandered that opportunity. And here's how he did it. By not making certain that we understood the opportunity that's available to us here in this country. For instance, whether you came here on the Mayflower or whether you came here on a slave ship in chains, America has never offered guarantees to anybody. The Pilgrims, they were not guaranteed that they would survive the first winter. And a runaway slave, as we try to point out in this film, when he gets the courage to run away from that system, there's still no guarantee that he's going to make it to freedom. So there has never been a guarantee for anyone in this country. You have to reach out and secure, as the preamble of the Constitution says, secure the blessings of liberty for both you and your posterity, regardless of what that may cost, because it does cost. Deneen and I are proof that it costs you something to secure that liberty and secure that freedom. We're free people. I'm a free man. I say what I want to say. I go where I want to go. And Glenn, you know, I associate with who I want to associate with. I'm a free man.
Back in just a second.